Hello everyone, my name is Mrs. Smith and welcome back to our RE Community Learning. This is session 4, so if you haven't already completed session 1, 2 and 3, then please go back and complete them first before we carry on with our learning today. Now in today's session we are thinking about carrying on thinking about communities and how different religions and different worldviews and how we feel that we belong in community. We'll be drawing on some aspects of a particular religion today called Sikhism. So get ready for that today. Before we do that, I just want to remind you about our helping hand from last session. So we're gradually building up lots of phrases and thinking that we want to remember from each session so that we've got a helping hand along the way for our community learning journey. So I wonder, think back to the last session, we were thinking about symbols of community and the special meanings that some symbols have for some faith groups, but also for community groups that you are part of in your area. I reminded myself of this one. So on my second finger along, I've written symbols that demonstrate unity, shows all belonging to one group. So I've reminded myself of that. I wonder, look back at your helping hand. What things can you remember about symbols and how we can apply that to our learning about living in community? Have a look now. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be focusing specifically on Sikhism today, and I'm just going to share the screen with you. We're focusing on how do Sikhs live in community. And actually, we're going to spend 2 sessions on Sikhism. There's quite a big aspect of community in Sikhism that I wanted to focus on. So we're going to be focusing on a particular part of Sikhism today in this session. And then in the next session, we'll be developing our knowledge a little bit further. This is what you'll be needing for today's session. 3 pieces of paper, lined or plain as before, at least 1 pen or pencil, colours if you would like, and keep hold of your helping hand. So pause the video here and make sure you've got all those resources ready to go. Fantastic. Right, first of all today, we're going to play a bit of a game. It's called Through the Keyhole. Now, you might have heard of that. It used to be a TV show that was on TV. And people would camera crews would be welcomed into someone's home and they would go around filming various objects or items in that home that they wouldn't actually show the actual person who lived there. But then the people on the show would have to try and work out or guess who those items belonged to based on the type of items that they were. It's a really good program. And really got people thinking about the objects that show people and what they believe in and how they are and how they behave. So that's why I think it's actually quite a nice thing that we could do today. Now I'm just going to share a screen with you, and I wonder if people were to look through your own keyhole at your home, what would people be able to see in your home? What objects would they be able to see? What would it tell other people about you? What would it tell people about you and your family? So we're going to play this quick game now, and I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to imagine that a film crew are coming round your home and they're not going to show the audience who you are until they've shown these 4 objects. We're going to go for 4. I want you to choose 4 objects from your home, write them down as a list, and then next to each one, see if you can work out or explain what that shows about you and your family. Almost like the clue that could come with it. Have a pause here and have a go at writing that list. Fantastic. I'm sure you've written a brilliant list of items that of things in your home that would show people watching the programme some interesting facts about you. I wonder, does it show that you belong to something, some of your objects that you've chosen? Or does it represent your family as a bit of a community or things that you like to do? Now, I had a thought about my own Through the Keyhole, and I thought about my 4 objects. And first of all, one of my objects would be my record player. I absolutely love listening to music and singing along to music, and listening particularly to old records. I've got some of those as well, really big records that would go on the record player. I thought about my hiking boots. Love going on walks with my family and my friends, so that would show people that I'd get outside and what have you. I thought about maybe one of my objects could be my plant, have it hanging in the background here of my little setup I've got here. I absolutely love caring for people, so maybe people would think of me as being quite a caring person, and maybe the community I belong to would show that I'm caring for them as well. And finally, I thought about people might actually look at things like my cookbooks. I absolutely love baking. Baking is something that I love to do, and again would do that as part of a community and share my baking with others. So I wonder, have you managed to think about some objects and what that actually shows people about you? Now, today we're going to be thinking about some objects again and the importance that they have for the Sikh religion. And in particular, we're going to be thinking about a word. And the special word we're going to be thinking about today, and I'll get it on the screen, is the word commitment. So I want you to take one of your pieces of paper and I want you to write the word commitment right in the middle, as like a little bubble in the middle. Now, on that word, around that word commitment, I want you to use your different coloured pencils or whatever you've got, and I want you to see if you can write the following around the edge, and I've put some prompts on the screen there for you. I wonder whether you can maybe go and get a dictionary or look up online, what does that word commitment actually mean? And then if you can work it out, can you work out some alternative words for commitment, so some synonyms? So have a go at writing maybe some synonyms for commitment. And then I've got a question there, what people can do to show that they are committed. So maybe have some activities or active things that people do to show their commitment. Have a think about it. People might be committed to a football team. So what would they do to show that they are committed to that football team? Think about maybe being committed to their family, maybe being committed to a hobby of some kind, maybe being committed to a religion, or maybe a music group. Then I've got here at the bottom there, how people show their commitment. Does commitment always lead to action? So I wonder, words that they might use, actions that they might do, how they spend their money, maybe the job that they choose to do. And where does commitment always lead to action? Maybe think about the things where people are showing commitment, but maybe in a completely different way and it isn't actually active. That's a challenge for you today, get you really thinking. And then I've got a little prompt at the bottom there, what people might give up to show commitment and why. So that's an interesting one. So have a go, explore the word commitment, come up with alternative words, come up with the groups and maybe places that people show their commitment, come up with the actions and words that people might do to show commitment, and then maybe something that they might give up and why. That last thing I'm thinking about for Christians, there's a season of Lent between Pancake Day leading up to Easter, and there's a big thing for Christians there. They actually go around the house, they celebrate Pancake Day because in the biblical times they would get rid of all the food in their house, and then that meant for 40 days leading up to Easter they would actually fast, and that's what some Christians do today. They give something up to focus on Jesus and to focus on God leading up to Easter, so that they're not focused always on food and eating. Actually, they spend their time focusing on God. And it's not just food that some people give up. They might give up going on social media, or they might give up focusing on something else just so that they can focus on God. So that's just a little bit of an idea to get you thinking about why you might give something up to show commitment. So pause the video here, have a go and see if you can fill your whole page full of all those ideas about commitment. Fantastic. Your mind maps are looking great. I'm just going to stop sharing so you can see me. I'm sure you've got lots of different ideas of what that word commitment might mean. Maybe you've learned some things on the way just by getting maybe a dictionary or a thesaurus out to find some of those synonyms. Now, thinking about Sikhism, I've got a story to share with you today. It's a really, really interesting story. And it's about the formation of the Khalsa. Now, the Sikh Khalsa started in a very interesting way. But the word Khalsa means commitment in the Sikh religion. And it's the moment where Sikhs, or it's the opportunity for Sikhs to join the Sikh Khalsa community. Now, Sikhs celebrate a festival called Vaisakhi each year, where during this time, Sikh people remember a story from the life of the 10th Guru, who is called Guru Gobind Singh and lived over 300 years ago in India. There are nearly 500,000 Sikh people in the world today, and millions more in India and other parts of the world. So I'm going to read a story. It's written by a girl called Devinda, and I'm going to share with you about this formation of the Khalsa. But as I share it with you, I wonder, can you come up with maybe thinking about some key moments in the story? So you've got to really listen into the story. What are some of the key moments in the story that you can pull out? But also thinking back to our word commitment, I wonder whether this word might come up as I share the story. So get ready with your listening ears, everyone. I'm going to share the story of Devinda. Let me introduce myself. I'm a 14-year-old girl and my name is Devinda Kaur. Well, it is for now. Let me know how it changed. Last month, it was a special festival for us Sikhs. Our guru, who is called Guru Gobind Singh, sent a message round to all of us to make a big effort to go to Anandpur for the festival. Our family had to walk for 2 days to get there, but I'm glad we went. You should have seen it. There were huge crowds and people all up the hill with a tent at the top. Our guru is a wonderful speaker. He gave a speech that day that was to change all our lives. We stood quite far back, but I had a good view. He was reminding us about being committed to the Sikh path and ended up asking who would give something up for their faith. People offered money, time, and all sorts of different gifts, animals, or even a house. It's expected that Sikhs are meant to be generous. Then the guru lifted his head and spoke again. But who among you will give your life, your head, to show your commitment? And he brandished a sword and his eyes gleamed. The crowds fell silent, shocked for what seemed like ages, and the breeze fluttered the tent. Then quietly a man stepped forward. I'm prepared to die for my faith, he said softly. The guru led him into the tent. The crowd stayed silent. There was a sickening sound from inside, a sort of thud. Then the guru came out with blood on his sword and his clothes. He called for another person willing to die for his faith. I tugged at Dad's jacket and whispered, "He didn't kill him, did he, Dad?" My dad motioned me to be silent. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I just felt horrible. But a second person did step forward. Into the tent he went. We heard the thudding chop of a sword. Blood splashed onto the tent from inside. The guru did this 5 times altogether, with the crowd growing more and more uncomfortable. He seemed to be inside for ages. Then the flap opened and the guru walked out. Behind him came the 5 men. Suddenly, the horrified silence broke. Everyone was gasping and crying and going crazy. At last, the guru got us all to listen again and praised the 5. We were all wondering what had happened inside and what he had said. Had he just been beheading animals or goats or something? Had the 5 men been killed and been brought back to life by a miracle? We didn't get answers, but we did get a challenge. Guru Gobind Singh told us that he wanted more commitment from all of us. He named the 5 men as Paj Piaz, which means the beloved 5, and asked all of us to join him in becoming Khalsa. He prepared a bowl of water in which his wife sprinkled sugar crystals in. He sprinkled this amrit from the iron bowl into the eyes and the heads of the 5 brave people, and each one showing their commitment. Again we gasped as the Guru himself bowed down before these 5. We shouldn't have been surprised, I suppose. He was a humble Guru. He then gave them 5 symbols to wear and new names. He said Sikh men should add Singh, which means lion, to their names, and Sikh women should add Kur, which means princess, to theirs. I can't really explain how we were feeling on the way home. Dad seemed very quiet. My sister was quite tearful, but we all decided that we were all going to be much more committed than we have been before. It was a great day, very emotional, but a great day. And now my Guru is called Guru Gobind Singh, and my name is Devinder Kaur. Now that was quite a challenging story to listen to, but it really demonstrates a big part of commitment of those in the Sikh faith choosing to form part of the Khalsa. Now a Guru in Sikhism is known as a teacher, a very important person who teaches the Sikhs important things about life and about how to live. Now I wonder, how might you have felt if you were in that situation? It's quite interesting, isn't it, as well, as to how they showed commitment through just stepping forward and giving up their lives so that they could show commitment to the Sikh faith and to the Guru. I wonder, can you think of a key moment from the story? Maybe it was arriving at the big festival. Maybe it was the first man walking through the tent. Or maybe it was the 5 men suddenly all coming back out, having not been killed. I want you to think about that key moment now. And I wonder if you can draw it or just write a sentence even. But I want you to draw that key moment in the story. And next to each picture of the character, I want you to have a thought bubble of what they might be thinking. Maybe draw Devinder and write a thought bubble. What might she have been thinking at that moment? Maybe draw one of the men that stepped forward. What might they have been thinking? Have a go now. Pause the video and draw that key moment in the story and those thought bubbles of what the characters were thinking. Now, look back at your mind map about commitment. So you would have had lots of words all written around yours. I wonder, is commitment to God different from other kinds of commitment? How? Why? Can you add any thoughts to your mind map about commitment to God being different? Pause the video here to add your thoughts. Great. Thank you for thinking about the Sikhs' commitment to God and how the formation of the Khalsa came to be, and that key moment in the story, thinking about how you might feel in response to joining that community. Really important that we actually understand that about Sikhism. Now, I've added some things to my list about commitment to God. I think that being joined to a community, being inspired by believing in something greater than yourself, shows that actually being committed to God is slightly different than maybe being committed to just a community group. Now we're going to focus our attention now on the 5 promises that Sikhs make when they join the Khalsa. So I'm just going to share with you now the screen. Here we go. So when people join the Khalsa in the Sikh community, they have to make these 5 promises. So they have to wear the 5 Ks. Now the 5 Ks are represented by the pictures on the screen right now. So to show that they're part of the Khalsa, they have to wear a turban, which is known as the kesh, on the head. They have to allow their hair to grow long, so they would often tie it up and put it inside the kesh. They would put the kanga, which is the comb, another one of the 5 Ks, in their hair as well. They would have the kirpan with the dagger as one of the symbols of their faith. They would have the kara, which shows the everlasting love of God, and that God is everlasting. And they've got the kachura, which is basically a pair of pants, but it shows again that they're special, and it shows their special commitment to God. And they're really special items. So by making that promise of wearing those 5 Ks makes that the symbols of their faith really important to them. So when they're seeing the kirpan, they remember their commitment to God. When they look at the kara, they remember that everlasting element of God being everlasting. When they're wearing those special underwear, they are remembering, actually, I've made this commitment to God. And it says here that they follow the teaching of the 10 gurus and the Guru Granth Sahib. And they have to accept responsibility for service to the Khalsa. So service is so important for Sikhs. That's a big aspect, and we'll be looking at that more in our next session. They have to abstain from alcohol, tobacco, and to respect women. And they have to work hard and give to charity. So it's really, really important that they make these 5 promises. And the teaching of the gurus reminds them of that. And through wearing those special symbols, as I explained, they can remind themselves of that commitment. Now, I wonder, what sort of lifestyle do you think a devoted Sikh would live today? Have a think. If you had to make 5 promises, what would they be? How do you think that those 5 promises would affect your everyday life? Let's see if we can pause here, and I want you to get another piece of paper, and I want you to make 5 promises that you would make. So it might not be to a religion or to a faith, that's completely fine. Think about what your beliefs are, and actually what 5 promises would you make to show that commitment? Thank you for recording your thoughts. I think making promises and sticking to them are a great way of building up community. Now, it's time to get out our helping hand, and it's time to reflect on what we've learned about Sikhism, and in particular about community. So I wonder if you can write down any words or values that you can think about from Sikhism that we've learned today. So I'm definitely going to write down the word commitment, and I'm going to demonstrate it through action, and promises. I'm sure you'll manage to write down yours even better than I. And do pause the video here to take some time to reflect before we finish our session. Now, thank you for joining with me today. As I said before, we are going to be thinking a little bit more about community, and in particular the Sikh community, in our next session. I wonder whether that idea of commitment will come more into what we learn about Sikhism in our next session. Thank you for being with me today. See you next time. Bye.